Good evening, everybody. We are here again tonight with another thought provoking conversation. My name is Ken Lawrence, and tonight we're going to have a conversation about a topic that I am super excited about, super passionate about. Before we get going, guys, a little bit of housekeeping. Go ahead and like the page. If you are on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the page if you're on YouTube. If you are on Facebook, please go ahead and go over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and like the channel also. So, as you all know, entrepreneurship is something that I'm very, very passionate about. I've been an entrepreneur now, a solo entrepreneur now for about 6 years. And it's been very rewarding. It's provided me and my family a very great standard of living. But I think all too often that people glorify entrepreneurship and don't give people the truth about it. So what I want to do tonight in our conversation is to speak with an entrepreneur, explore her journey into entrepreneurship, talk about the pros and the cons, and see what it was that gave her the initiative to go ahead and step away from that 9 to 5. Because I know personally that is a extremely hard decision. You're nervous, you're scared, but at the same time, you're very optimistic about what the future may hold. So, without any further ado, let me go ahead and bring to the stage and introduce my guest tonight, Miss Kelsey Sanders. Kelsey, how are you?
Hi, Ken. I'm well. First, I want to say thank you for inviting me to your platform to discuss my journey.
Man, I appreciate you jumping on. So, it's just me and you. Nobody's watching, nobody's listening. Just gonna have a conversation tonight about entrepreneurship and about your
Right.
journey and
hmm
about everything that came along with it. So let us know a little bit about yourself. First and foremost, where are you from?
So I'm from Patterson, Louisiana. I am one of three children. I have two brothers. So I'm the only girl. So I kind of grew up in the streets. Playing sports with them. But I always had a passion for cooking, and so my dad. I had Easy Bake Oven for one. So that's how it all started. And I saw like the retail price on those things are like crazy these days. But it all started with Easy Bake Oven. My dad would have me like make cornbread and like cakes and stuff like that. So that's how I started. And then I located to Lafayette. I started at UL in 2015. Um, I got my degree in exercise science, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to be a physical therapist. I interned at a physical therapy clinic, did not like it. um, and so I finished in exercise science, and I thought, I just graduated, didn't know what my next step was. And so, I just worked the 9 to 5 until I figured it out. Well, really just worked the 9 to 5 until I thought of something else, really.
That's funny. As small as Patterson is, my best friend is from Patterson.
Who's your best friend?
His name is Clifford Walton.
I don't know. I have to see it. I'm a face person. I'm not good with
I'll
names.
get some of his family. I'm sure you probably know some of his. I mean, y'all from Patterson. I mean, everybody know everybody. I'm sure you know some of his family, but
Right.
he went to school there. Met him when we were at Southern together. He
hmm
now lives in Houston. Man, very good business owner, and he's also an accountant for Chevron. So um,
hmm
he's from Patterson, man.
Okay.
Big Patterson, the Lumberjacks.
That's us.
So you say you're in Lafayette now, right?
Yes,
Man,
I am.
Lafayette's a tough food market, man. They claim that the food in Lafayette is better than the food from New Orleans.
Yeah. I think it's just different. It's what you're in the mood for. When I go to New Orleans, I know I'm gonna order certain things, and when I'm in Lafayette, I can order certain things. So it's really about the location. But we give them a run for their money. I can say that.
And I've been out there. Well, I used to work out there, but I've been out there a couple of times just trying to find like some hole in the wall places, some different places that have soul
hmm
food stuff. I got a couple of friends that live out there, and I must say that the food out there is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. Actually, say what you want to. I love Lafayette food better than New Orleans food.
Right. It's like, cause it's like some stuff is like, what is this? Like this is like I've had to say like, what is this? Is what I'm paying for? Like Lafayette would never
And,
have to
and
say
see, with
sometimes.
me, I'm real picky. So I like to be able to identify everything
hmm
in my food. And,
Right.
and, and in New Orleans, they kind of just
If it's in a pot, when it come out, that's what you
Well,
get. So
they throw
figure it out.
everything in there. So yeah, I like to be able to identify what it is that I eat. So you say that you went to school in Patterson, you left Patterson, and you went to UL Lafayette,
Hmm.
correct?
Right.
And previous to starting a business, what you say you were doing again?
So I graduated from UL. I feel like every graduate hits that part in their life. You graduate and you think few have the roadmap figured out. Like if you're in nursing or whatever,
Mhm.
you have the pathway figured out. But like me, I finished in the field and I really didn't know my next step. So the next thing was just to get a 9 to 5 because I couldn't just survive off my part time, college job. And so it took me almost, I want to say, 6 months to even find a full time job. And so the first job that I got was at Sprint in Lake Charles. So I literally had to commute every day. I had a brand new car. I put 20,000 miles on my car, and that short frame period of commuting every day. Um, and so finally, I was granted the opportunity to move back to Lafayette, still with Sprint, but just home. And so every day I was just clocking the clock, and it. I loved my job, but I didn't love the people that I was around, and
Yeah,
so it made it hard for me to want to stay, want to go to work. Um, so in 2018, well, I told myself I would give myself 3 years before I went back to school, whatever the next path was. I had 3 years to sit out. So 2018 was the 3 year mark. So I had to figure something out. So I thought I wanted to go to school to get my master's in dietetics. Well, that roadmap, was more difficult than I expected. So I had a scholarship through the McNair program for first generational college students. So I had that. So I enrolled in UL's MBA program, and I can say it was the best decision of my life is to attend that particular program
yeah,
for business. So I started in 2018, and I was still going to work. So I had class now, full time schedule, and work full time. So it was hard to balance, staying in the right mind frame when you're at work with people who don't want to do their job, but they want to be managers, and then
right.
worrying about what I'm doing in my office, but my job is done. But you're worried about what I'm doing, my other stuff when my job is done. So I had to deal with all of that stuff at work. And so, um, and even it got to a point where I just was applying for jobs that I was overqualified for just to get out of that atmosphere.
Yeah,
But it got to a point where I didn't even get the thank you for applying, thanks but no thanks emails. I didn't even get those emails. So, I was like, okay, well, it must be a sign. So I'm just going to finish school, and, whatever comes after that, it'll happen, right? So 2019, I always in college I meal prep because I was, it was a way to save money, but also for health reasons to not buy Taco Bell every day, whatever. So that's how I started meal
right.
prepping. And so people would always comment like on my stories on Instagram or message me on Facebook, be like, hey, do you sell meal preps? And I would always say no. It's like, because I don't think anybody's gonna buy meal preps from me. You just blowing smoke, whatever. So, those questions started coming more regularly, people asking, hey, if you ever start, I want to buy, all that stuff. But like I said, I didn't entertain it. And so I think mid 2019, I was like, okay, well, maybe I might have a shot here, because I just love to cook, period. So I was like, okay, I may start like, meal prepping. So I tried to put a name together, like nothing was working. Like I tried, and I just walked away because like none of my ideas made sense, and I felt like I was forcing it. So at the end of 2020, in December, um, one of the ministers at church, she hosted a vision board party at a house, and so that was how I sat down at work and I literally wrote out like it all came together. Eat, fuel, flourish, like the mission, the purpose, all that stuff. And it was just funny because I tried to piece it together. I even share my ideas with like my friends, and it still didn't make sense. But once it clicked, I didn't have to ask them, hey, how does this sound, whatever, because I knew it was right for me. So that's how I started with the vision, right? So I did my vision board in 2019, 2021. The first, I was supposed to work on it, right? That didn't happen. Didn't happen in January, didn't happen in February, but I decided, okay, well, March is going to happen, right? Lo and behold, the pandemic was at its height,
That's what I say.
right?
That didn't help.
The height of the pandemic. But like we said, Mardi Gras, whoop de whoop, went party and all that stuff. And then now it's like, okay, well, I need to get to work because another month has passed. So, I put out my first menu in March. And I have like 3 or 4 customers, every week, you know, to start out. So I'm like, okay, well, I have customers. They're returning customers. And I think the first month, I think I sold 100 meals.
Wow.
So, like I said, just doing what I had. I didn't have, this was money that I was setting aside from my work paycheck, putting to the side, and that's how I started. But I didn't have a fancy logo. I made a logo off of, I don't even know what it was, but one of those apps I had, that's how I made a logo, pieced it together. That's how I started. Um, and from there, just grew. In March, March was 100 meals. I think April, I did a little bit more, but probably by April and May, think about May, I was doing almost 100 meals a week. So, mind you, now I'm still working full time.
Right.
I'm in school full time. And so, meal prepping was between Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Delivery Saturday and Sunday, really. Um, so I had all that going on. So imagine, doing like 2 or 3 orders that average to like 30 meals in the weekend to doing almost 100, like between 80 to 100 meals in just one weekend. And I
To
still had
do
to do my
all that,
schoolwork,
all
and I
that
still had
by
to deliver.
yourself
Right,
in a residential kitchen.
right. So, that was going on. And so then they started cutting out hours because of the pandemic. So I'm like, I started to have Fridays off. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm off on Fridays. Like, I need to do something, right? So that's how I started. I started selling lunch on Fridays. And I think I called it Fleurish Fridays. And I think the
Nice.
first thing that I sold was shrimp and grits.
Can't
And
go
so
wrong
that
with
was another way, that I started making money on my days off, trying to maximize my time. Um, and I had help because mostly everybody was at home, because of the pandemic. So that kind of helped me. While even when I was at work, I was still able to do my Flourish Fridays and just have, I'll make the stuff before I went to work and just have one of my friends, a few of my friends, drop it off, you know to customers while I was at work. But I think that's one of your questions. When was the time that I knew like it was time for me to make a decision, right?
you. Yeah.
um
Because I mean, I think initially initially you it starts as a vision,
right,
and as it begins to start as a vision, eventually it evolves into a passion.
right.
Once it gets to that passion stage, going to work becomes absolute hell because you're there and you realize that in that moment you have to be there. But
Mm-hmm.
your heart, your mind, everything
Right.
else is totally locked in on your business. So at one point in time, did you decide, hey, I gotta walk, I gotta step away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how I'm gonna do it. I may not have all
Mm-hmm.
the resources to do it right now, but what was it? What was it that defining moment when you decided, man, look, it's time to rock?
Right. Before I answer that question, I think I skipped over my why, which I think is very important for people to know, no matter if you're a business owner, just in life in general, knowing your why and your purpose. And
Mhm.
so my purpose was my dad passed when I was 18 years old from a heart attack. He had diabetes and high blood pressure, and he really did not have a foundation on how to live with those conditions, right?
Mhm.
So, I still watched him eat sweets, drink alcohol, all those things because he didn't know. So, the night of the incident, he thought his blood sugar was low, so he was eating candy trying to bring it up, right? But it was the opposite. His sugar levels were really high, so that sent him into cardiac arrest.
Mm.
And so from then on, I made a promise to myself that I didn't want another child growing up like me, so I wanted to use my story and my platform to educate those around me on, you don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to make extravagant meals. It's just small steps you can make every day to live a healthier life. And so that's what Eat Fuel First is about. Small changes that'll have a greater impact, in the end. And so like a lot of my meals that I cook, like I do pasta. But if you don't want pasta noodles, you can do whole wheat pasta, or you can do like zucchini noodles. And so I always have those options to give you variability. And you don't always have to think you have to have a carb with everything. So that's what my passion is and why I started the company.
Yeah, because
But
there are a
for
lot of
me,
people
it
right
got
now
to
who are looking for those healthier options.
right. And that's
Um,
another thing, like in like for us, like and specifically in African American community, when we hear healthy, we think, oh, we can't have chips, we can't have bread, we can't do this, we can't do that. That's not it. That's not the problem. The problem is how many cookies are you eating compared to how many apples you're eating? How much water are you drinking compared to how many ginger ales you're drinking? That's the thing that we're missing in our community. So like I said, it's not for saying I'm specifically trying to cater to us, but this is if you look at every chart, we're at the top for the bad things.
right,
So just breaking it down to a level that's understandable and knowing that okay, if I do this today, early in the morning, if I work out for 20 minutes, then I can have my cookies tonight or whatever. Just things like that. But the point where I knew I needed to fully commit to this was when like I had customer service problems. So maybe like the order was wrong or the food was cold. I was like, I'm on the clock, like I can't just get up, and go and fix it, whatever. Or and then the dad probably just had to do a refund because, like I said, I can't make it right.
right.
So it got to that point where I'm not touching my customers how I need to be. So from that point, I started debating like, okay, well, because like I said, the customer was there, the passion's there, but am I really ready to actually make that step, right? So, and I told myself I was like, I'm not gonna. I think the other point that pushed me to quit was I applied for like I had been training to move up in my position, and they literally just handed the position to somebody else, and so that was the first thing that was
Oh,
like they don't see me here. There's no like if I don't get this position, then I'm capped out. There's no other way. There's nowhere else for me to go. So I had that on my radar. It's like, okay, well, I didn't get that position, so I'm clearly going to stay in this position until I leave. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, customers touching my customers more. Um,
hmm
so I had the battles like, okay, well, am I ready to leave my job? I'm in school full time. Like, how is all this going to happen, right? So I said a prayer. I never forget. It was probably a Friday morning, and I was like, God, if it's meant for me to quit my job, like, send me a sign. Like, please send me a sign. And oftentimes, we have that bad. We'll pray for something, and when He shows us, the way to take, we'll still be hesitant. And so
Yeah,
He puts us in he always puts me in a position where he's like, okay, well, you asked for it, I showed you, but you don't want to take my advice, but I'm going to put you in a position where you have to act on the things that you asked for, right? So I prayed, and then I think that weekend I got booked for like a private dinner. I had a really good Fleurish Friday, and then I had like a couple. I don't know, but I probably had like 100 meal preps to do that weekend. So he was showing me that it's there, but I need to be in the kitchen touching my customers to actually take it to the next level. Um,
so you probably prayed
so
that prayer that I pray. I prayed a prayer where I say, God, I need you to show me a sign. I need the sign to be so big that I know that it can't be anybody but you.
right, right, yeah. Like I said, that was a sign, and once again, I did not accept the sign. I put it on the back. I'm like, oh, okay, okay, well, and I don't. Oh, that's what happened. So T-Mobile bought Sprint, right?
hmm
So they got rid of my position at the time. So it was either I stay with the people that I absolutely did not like to be a sales rep, what I had absolutely no desire to do, or quit. And my manager put me in a position. He said, either you can be a sales rep or you're just gonna find somewhere else to go. And so, I was at the crossroad. Like, I know for sure I do not want to stay here. So, I just told him, I said, okay, well, I guess this is my 2 week notice. So I think I want to say August 13th, whatever. I think the second Friday was my last day working for T-Mobile/Sprint. Um, my last day, like I mean, when I said I was quitting, like I cried because I truly loved my job, but I just didn't love the environment. But when I clocked out and got in my car, I just felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. Because I
hmm
used to literally cry going to work every day. That's how bad it was. I used to wake up with headaches driving to work, cried on my way to
Yeah.
work. Like it was a mental job to go there. So when I quit, it was a burden lifted off. But then I was like, oh shit, like what's next? Like, I don't have that routine of wake up, rush to work because I used to wake up late, and I'm not a person to be late. But I used to wake up late, show up to work late, 30 minutes late, whatever. But when we go to a 9 to 5, we're used to that schedule. Well, on Monday because I went to a trip to California and I got back, I'm like, okay, well, what's next? Like, what am I supposed to do? So I had to figure out, what I was going to do next. But all I kept saying to myself was the only way I can fail is if I don't try.
Right.
And that, I mean, the simple as me just not cooking. That's the only way I can fail. But even if I fail, I can say I tried, opposed to saying I'm going to stay at my 9 to 5 just to pay my bills. So
That's
that's how
funny.
that went.
That's funny. I remember I cried myself, but I don't know. I don't know if I cried out of, I don't know if it was because I was happy, because I was afraid, because I didn't know what the future was going to hold. But I know that first morning that I woke up and I realized that, like, dude, like there are no more consistent checks that are coming every week. From this point going forward, either
Yeah.
you're gonna get it or it's not gonna happen.
Mhm.
And the funny part about the way that I did it, like our stories are a little bit different. I was working in retail.
Mhm.
I didn't like the job whatsoever. I didn't. The job was so bad. I won't call the company's name, but the director of HR used to joke about how bad their training was.
Mhm.
So she was like, well, I said, well, I don't feel like I'm trained enough to be a manager in this store. She was like, well, you'll learn while you're here. I'm like, well, how am I going to learn while I'm here when the manager's basically CAD, one leaving, one coming, and everybody else that's here is somebody that's beneath me.
Mhm.
So I'm the most unknowledgeable person in the building, yet I'm the one that's running the show.
Right.
So when when I went to work one day and I went on my lunch break. I never forget it. I went on my lunch break and I went to McDonald's. I pulled back in the parking lot. I'm sitting there. I'm full because I overate. I don't want to go back in the building. So I called them and say, hey, look, um, something came up. I'm not coming back to work. So I went home that day. I woke up the next morning, just like you said. I woke up the next morning, head hurting, body aching. I hate this place. I don't want to go back. So I called the next day. Say, hey, I'm calling in. I'm not coming to work. The third day, it's decision time at this point because either I'm going to work or they're gonna fire me for job abandonment.
Mhm.
So I woke up, I called in, I said, man, I'm not coming. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you guys your keys tomorrow or the next day or whatever. So whatever. And that's how I left my job.
Mhm.
That's how I left my job. Look, one of my coworkers on now said he knows the place I'm talking about. He knows the place I'm talking about. I mean, I met some amazing people, and he's one of them. I mean, I really enjoyed the people that I worked with. But
Mhm.
as far as future, I knew there wasn't a future there for me.
Right.
I didn't like the job. Had a couple of bad experiences there too. So I
Mhm.
was, and like you say, I was still had my business on the side that I was running that I was halfway successful with, and I kept saying to myself, what could I be if I took all these outside entities away and just focused completely on my
Mhm.
business? So it's funny that most people who actually step away from the job and go into that entrepreneur space usually have that same experience.
Mhm.
So, what are some of the pros that you've identified? I mean, because you've done the 9 to 5 before,
Mhm.
you had the security of the 9 to 5, and now you're doing your own thing. So, in
Mhm.
your opinion, what are some of the pros of having your own business versus working that 9 to 5?
I think the biggest thing is you're running your own business. You have that space to be creative. You don't have someone telling you, "Well, we're gonna do this," or "I think that idea is too big." Um, that thing. You have that space to be creative. Um, and then you have the room to create your own destiny, make your own opportunities. You don't have to wait for them to say, well, we have this position open, you can apply at this time, or we're creating, you don't have to worry about that. It's you wake up every morning and you make a decision. What am I going to do today? how I'm going to make a difference in my business, how I'm going to make a difference in my community. Um, that's the biggest thing. You can create the business, but make sure that you stick to that mission statement. Because oftentimes, when you're working a 9 to 5, it's about working for the company, and you're following what the company vision is. But you may have people above you who don't give a crap. They just want their paycheck.
Right.
So there's always um, that offset. But you wake up and you're in control, and you don't
Yeah.
have to answer
Yeah.
anybody, because you're in charge, and
And something, that freedom can be a blessing or a curse. It just
it's
depends
a
on the
it's
person.
both. It's both.
Yeah, because I mean, you have some people who have worked the job for so long and they're used to that structure. They're
Mhm.
used to, having somebody tell them specifically what needs to be done. They're used
Mhm.
to getting to that routine of doing the
Mhm.
same thing pretty much consistently every single day. Now you got that freedom. You can go ahead and you can knock it out in the first part of the day, or you can play around in the first part of the day, say that you're gonna get it done at the end, lose focus, and by the end of the day, you realize, man, look, I haven't accomplished one single thing all day.
Yeah. Um.
I'm guilty of it. It's happened to me numerous of times.
Yeah.
So
That's a current battle of mine, but that's just because I'm a night owl, so I can work from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. like it's nothing. But waking up at 7 a.m. and whew, it's a struggle bus. But for me, in the workplace, like I was the employee where, just tell me what you want, and I'll create structure, organization, do projects on my own. I don't need to be checked on. So I always had that mentality of the do. So it was easier for me to transition. But like you said, having that freedom and staying on schedule and not getting sidetracked, it's tough. So, you still have to, in essence, create a schedule to get things done.
yep, I actually took a class in time management, and that was one of the things that the guy emphasized was, even though mentally you know what you need to do, put it on paper. Put it on paper so that way you get an opportunity to see at a glance everything you need to accomplish that day.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason or another you don't get it accomplished that day, all you do is carry it from day one over to day two. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when he said, I'm like, man, that sounds great, but that's not going to work for me. But I
Mm-hmm.
paid for the course, so I may as well attempt to, do some of the things that the guy was talking about. So I actually tried it, and I must admit, it worked wonders for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw what I had to do at a glance, but also I'm a competitor. There was no way that I was going to write a list and not be able to complete everything that I wanted to get done that day. So for me, making that list, it sounds like something very simple, but I mean, it worked wonders for me.
Mm-hmm.
It worked wonders for me, and to this day, I still
Mm-hmm.
write lists. Sometimes I realize that, over that list, for the most part, my list usually starts off with about 10 items every day.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get 4 to 5 of them done, mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to be realistic. You're not going to get everything done every day. So if I can get 4 to 5 of those things done every day, I consider them a good day.
Right.
All right. So, what are the cons? What are those things that when you started the business, you didn't anticipate these things? What are the things that everybody glorifies entrepreneurship, but nobody ever talks about this part of it? What are those things that being an entrepreneur absolutely gives you a headache about?
Well, um, I mean, like I said, it's easier to be under stress because it's your passion and you know the bigger picture. But people, you say you leave your 9 to 5. You leave your 9 to 5 to literally work 24/7 because
Absolutely.
there's something that always needs to be done.
Yes.
And it was, I was able to step out of the kitchen when I had to go to my full time job. But once I quit, it's like the kitchen is never closed because okay, well, if you're in my aspect, if you're not cooking, you're not making money.
Right.
At the end of the day, point blank period. So the hardest thing is working 24/7 and still trying to map out time out of the kitchen for yourself. But it's like okay, well, if I'm out of the kitchen, I'm still getting emails, texts. Hey, I emailed you about this. Hey, I called you about this, and it's like I know, and people, the customer, they really don't understand because they're customers, so they you have to cater to them, but at the same time you have to create that balance. So I think structure is it's tough. And you said, like I said, the freedom to do what you want, that's another think of mine, yeah, you may not wake up early to do it, but now I'm rushing and finishing trying to get things done. But also for me, I went from, working in the morning, doing stuff at night, going to class at night to now, okay, if I'm meal prepping, usually my meal prep schedule is from Thursday to Sunday because I go to the store, prep my stuff, cook my stuff, deliver between Saturday and Sunday. Okay, I did all that stuff, but now I need to go on the, financial side. I need to, upload my receipts, track this, track that. Before I get done with that, it's already Monday again. And I still have people calling me now. Now I have to make my new meals. So it's the constant, rat race if you don't have things mapped out, and people don't talk about that. And like till this day, I'm still trying to fix those things because my business grew, unexpectedly. Yes, growth is great, but
Mhm.
if you don't have the proper foundation, it doesn't matter if you have, $100,000 in sales. How much money did you keep? Do you know your profit margins? Like all
Right.
those things. And I have an MBA, and every person that I meet, I say, it was hard for me to actually sit down and acknowledge, you know, where I'm lacking, and it's not my fault, but it's just there's only so much you can learn within the MBA program. I think the first step for me to actually correcting some of my mistakes was acknowledging, okay, well, this isn't right. I know I need help. But in my mind, it's like I should know this because I have an MBA. But that, it's not. That's not how it works. At the end of the day, it's only so much you can learn. But um, like another example, just for say, like, okay, we all know we have to pay taxes, but is it properly set up? Are you charging right? Like all those things, and so people that's not just out there. You have to ask for help, and then some people like, oh, I'm not going to tell you this, or it's a secret. So you have all those things going on. Like people just don't want to help you, and so you're trying to piece all these things together. And so now, like I did an accountability chart with a consultant from the Small Business Center, and so basically it maps out like my chain of command. So like the CEO, the COO, the director of operations, all the way down to like the meal prep workers, the caterers, and ironically, my name is in every single seat. I think I had like maybe 10 seats total, and I
Yeah.
wear out those hats. So just imagine trying to get that done in a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Focus on social media marketing, meal preps, actually doing the meal preps, managing your books, bookkeeping, accounting, like all those things. And you can't know it all, but like at the same time, those are the things that people don't put on social media. They just
Right.
post, oh, their sales, their sales, their sales. And I talk about those things because it's not easy. Not everybody's meant to be a business owner because it's tough. Like you have
Yeah.
to be literally built for this because it's not easy. And I don't have a family right now, so it's easier for me, to be all in. And if I don't talk to whomever, it's not an issue. But for those who have families, it's even harder.
Yeah.
But like I said, those fundamentals are the hardest thing, to fix your mistakes, but also making sure you keep those good habits in place. That's the biggest thing for me right now. Um, is
And You,
rebuilding
you,
my
and you
foundational
hit you
structure.
hit it on the head. There are people who are in the same industry that you're in who have been there for a prolonged period of time and have a ton of experience that are actually afraid to mentor you in any type of way out of fear that something that they tell you may propel your business above theirs. So it's sad that we live in an environment like that where we're so afraid of competition that we don't want to help people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, mentorship I think is very important. It's the gap between getting to where you want to go a whole lot easier. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been that person who always attempted to mentor people who were
Mm-hmm.
already in my industry, whether they were doing the exact same thing that I was doing or if it was a little bit different, because
Mm-hmm.
it's enough money out there for everybody. And regardless of what industry you're in, you could be cooking, I could be cooking, but our
But it won't
cooking
taste the
would be
same.
totally different.
Right.
You could be doing straight vegan. I could be doing soul food. You could be looking for the 18 and 24 market, looking for more of a mature audience. So either way, there are just so many
Mm-hmm.
different ways that we can. I mean, we can share resources, we can share vendors, we can share
Right.
experiences.
Right.
This is what works for me. This is what works for you. You have your
Mm-hmm.
problem with your tax. I got a software that can animate all that for you. So I never understood that. I never
Right.
understood that we are in such competition, but it really shows you how people are. They don't really have the
Crab,
confidence in
right?
their own
Crabs in a
brand
barrel,
like they act
right?
like they do.
And that's another thing. Like people always message me like, "Hey, you're doing so great. Can you give me any tips?" And I will be honest, like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, like I'm figuring out as I go. Like, I'm not about to sit here and tell you a dream. Oh, I did X, Y, and Z, and I'm figuring it out. But we can figure it out together. I can tell you what does work for me, what doesn't work. But at the end of the day, like, I don't have it all figured out.
Yeah,
And so like for me, I just kept telling myself, giving myself grace that as long as I keep cooking, God's gonna send me resources. He's gonna get me there. Just that thing, because it's frightening. When
yeah,
you don't have help, or people are willing to help you, and people that you say been in the industry, but they're, oh, this new up and coming person is gonna take my business. That's not true. There's a lot of people, and they can use us for different things. If I'm busy, my thing is, if I'm busy and you're doing meal preps too, or you're doing catering too, if I'm booked, I'm
mm-hmm.
gonna send them to you, and that
Yes,
goes in the same way. Like, regardless of your products, if we're selling the same product, I'm going to buy your product to see how it tastes, to see how it smells, how it wears. So if somebody asks, I can refer your business, because it's not a competition, because my market is not your market, right? Um, so that's just another thing that, it makes it harder for us to grow as a community
yeah,
when you think that I'm your enemy, but in actuality, we're all teammates, because the more money we have in our community, the more things we can do in our community, to make our community a better place. But
yeah. And you hit on something that I think is very important too about the logistics side of the business, the back office side, the paperwork side. A lot of business owners, do excellent in whatever it is that they do, just to realize that taxes were not filed correctly, the LLCs not set up correctly, articles of incorporation are not there,
mhm,
no EIN number, no state EIN number, no
mhm,
federal EIN number, and then when you no insurance, in
mhm,
some situations. So that back office part is just as important as their front office,
right,
and nobody ever talks about that part. And for the
mhm.
most part, I mean, you're an MBA, you probably were much more versed in that area than I was when I first got started. But I knew absolutely nothing about any of that stuff. None of it.
They didn't talk about that. They didn't
No.
talk about that in the MBA program. I got a little bit of accounting, so I know what a balance sheet is, but that's about it. But other than that, it was just, it wasn't. It's not what you do in your business.
Yeah.
So,
And then
yeah, I
even
think.
even even with that, and it sounds counterproductive, but for the person who tries to do everything the correct way, you want to get all your licensing, you want to have all your vendors correctly, you want to pay your taxes and stuff. It's actually easier for people to do it, especially in your industry, weekend sales, um, just plate sales and stuff like that. You don't have to worry about paying taxes. You don't have to worry about having insurance or anything like that. They can sell a similar product for less because they have less overhead.
Mhm.
You don't have to worry about paying taxes and things like that. So there's a lot of things that I don't think the average person actually thinks about when
Mhm.
they prepare to go into this entrepreneur thing full stream. Everybody glorifies it. And like I said, there are a lot of great aspects of it. But I think that when we talk to people about doing it, they need to know both sides of it so they can make an
Right.
educated decision on if they really want to get into this arena, man, because it's a constant battle every single day.
Right. People always say, "Well, you need time off. When are you gonna take time off?" Well, when are you gonna stop ordering food? When do you not eat anything? Because I'm at your house almost every week. So let me know when can I take off. But I also have a laundry list of stuff that I haven't touched in like 2 months. There's a lot of stuff that I need to do that I just don't have the time to be off right now. So like I said, you just have to be built for this life, and you know that, okay, once I get to the next phase, things will get better. But some people, they'll stop at the first hurdle and say, you know what, I quit. I'm gonna give up. So just knowing that, like I said, you just have to give yourself grace, honestly. And I always said, like I said, I didn't have money when I started. I just worked with what I had. But as I went along the way, I kept saying, God's gonna, make a way. He's gonna provide. So as I went, people come in and say, "Hey, I need this," or things will get gifted to me. But that's, I bought stuff piece by piece just to make it work. But if you think you're gonna have the complete plan, completely mapped out, have it all figured out, that's not the case. You're gonna have a rude awakening. There's no amount of planning you can do to actually be prepared when you're in the field.
Yeah.
because that is honestly how you grow in your business, from the day to day.
And even as you grow, I mean, you may have a plan for this stage of your business, but I
Right.
mean, as
Mm-hmm.
you grow, that plan changes daily.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you said another thing that was pretty powerful, that there are so many people who actually want to get into entrepreneurship that are waiting until they have all their ducks in a row. They're waiting until everything is exactly the way they need it to go before they
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and take that leap of faith. Let me tell you guys something. You're waiting for it to be perfect.
Gonna be
It'll,
waiting a long time.
it'll never happen.
A long
It never
time.
happened. At different stages of my business, I had everything completely figured out. But as you grow, your plans have to be fluent. You have to change your plans every single stage of the way. So you'll never be prepared. It's a myth. It'll never be easy for you. That's a myth because the business and the industry and the market and the technology is constant and customer demand is constantly changing.
Yeah, it does.
All right. So if given the opportunity to go back in a time machine, you could go back and you could start this thing all the way from the beginning. What would you do differently?
Um,
She say nothing. I was perfect. I did everything exactly.
there wasn't it was perfectly imperfect, right? Um, I don't know. I think it just I'm a perfectionist, and so when things aren't right, I shy away because I'm just overwhelmed because it's not perfect, right? So a lot of things I chose to wait to actually correct because one, I didn't want to acknowledge my mess ups, but also trying to figure out how I'm going to tackle, like I said, tackle the elephant,
Mhm.
bite by bite. So I think I would change, acknowledging that sooner to getting help to not have the problem be so big. But other than that, I mean, everything's been a learning experience, and I wouldn't change it. And just like I said, I never wanted to do this for accolades or anything like that. I'm just doing my passion, my purpose, and God just puts me on a platform, to let others know that it's possible. People tell me every day, "Oh my God, you're living your dream," and it's like, yes, I am, but it's so much work. And I think the biggest accomplishment for me was being recognized as best chef of Acadiana for 2021. I didn't even know I was nominated. I didn't know, but it just goes to show that I've been working so hard and I've been trying to make those customer relationships, um, that the community sees my work, and they know my work. I don't have to boast about it. And that's another thing. People who have businesses, they think like they have to be, they need to know my name, who I am, this is my business, but that's not what it's about. Your brand, your product, that's what it's about. But that let me know that even though I don't have it all figured out, I'm going to get there. I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I can now, preparing for my future.
And I was gonna bring that up, man. I'm gonna pop on the screen, man. Congratulations
Thank you.
for being named the best chef in Acadiana for 2021. Man, that's huge. I mean, we just talked about how great the food in that area is, and to have such a huge award at such an early stage in the
Right.
business, man.
Not even 2 years in business. And I'm like, what? When I saw it, I was voting for my friends because I knew a few people on there. So I was like, oh, let me see who else is nominated in the category. So I'm scrolling. I'm like, wait, that says Kelsey Sanders. Like, that's me? Like, who voted for me? But, they said
Which
you just
that
never know
can
who's
be
watching.
that can be a blessing and a curse too.
Mm,
Because all of a sudden you're doing everything, you're incognito, you're trying to figure out how you want to structure your business, and then once those accolades come, now everybody wants to deal with the best of the best. So you may
mm,
have had a plan, let's just say, to do 25 to 50K in your business year one or year two, and
mm,
then once those accolades come, now you are already on a trajectory to do 75 to 100K. You may not have the infrastructure in place. You may have been doing everything by yourself. You may
mm-hmm.
not have had the equipment. You may not have had the facilities. But once again, I mean, we you just told God to give you a sign
Right.
that was so big that you automatically knew that it was him. And that award just basically verifies that you're absolutely in the right industry. So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. that also, put things into perspective for me. Okay, I started out as meal prep, but like I said, yeah, as your business grow, you have to grow. So, trying to change my clientele. Not to say that, I'm just gonna do this, but I can grow my portfolio. And even if, I can raise my price, because a lot of people, like in my industry for sure, people just don't understand how much labor it is to actually cook. So, some people,
And
they
food
make,
prices are up
like
smart
like
right
like
now.
some people will try to feed 1,000, 100 people for $50. That's just, it's not right. But I've seen it. So, it's okay that I, raise my price, because I know my worth. My work speaks for itself. So it's okay, to quote unquote change my market, or have, a certain market for certain things, because like private dinners, that's a luxury. It's not every day that you say, okay, I'm gonna book a chef, have a private dinner. So, I can offer that at, a premium price. Not to say that's unaffordable, but it's also a luxury. It's not something that you do every day. So it's like you said, scaling my business, so be able to, grow with my business. And I'm in that phase now. It's like, okay, well, I'm already at the point where, it's whooping me. But, like I said, it's all gonna come, as long as I keep working, I'm gonna get, the resources that I need to, hire people, but also having the right foundation. So I've been working really hard with the Small Business Center, trying to get all those things in order. So when I am ready to hire somebody, I have an onboarding process. They know their tasks, their responsibilities within the company, and they're not just hired and then they're running all over the place. And so now I have employees that I'm paying, but they're not doing the job.
And that was something that I was, oh man, you talk about a weakness of mine. We're a lot alike. My
Mm-hmm.
biggest weakness was I had a hard time delegating because I wanted things to be done a particular way. And regardless of how good a person is, they will never do everything the exact way that you did it. And in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, that used to, I mean, there was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of stress and anxiety because I wanted to be able to do everything in the business. I wanted to be able to physically touch everything. And as you begin to grow, it absolutely becomes impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes impossible. So I mean, I had to learn how to let go. I had to learn how to trust people, and
Right.
I also had to learn how to take myself out of the equation as much as possible. Because what I found out was that, dude, you own the business. So why are you out there in the trenches? You need to be managing and
Mm-hmm.
supervising and overseeing and training and getting people so that you can step away from it.
Right.
And the quality and the execution is exactly the same. So duplication for me was something that I really, really, really struggled with. And to double back on something we were talking about, most people never talk about the sacrifices that you have to make. See, if you're a person that's social and you need to be around a lot of people and you want to be at every event, this ain't for you.
And I'm not a, I'm an introvert, and but I have to be social. I have to go to these people's house and cook dinner. So, I have to be that social person. It's requiring me, to be on that platform. To be on this show. Because if I was back in grade school, I would have told you no. Just because I was the person. I would literally start sweating on the first day of school when the teacher called roll, because I was just that afraid to say here. Like, that's where I came from. To being on this platform. So yeah.
Yeah, you have to congratulate yourself for those small victories because I mean even that's a victory.
Mhm.
And as you grow, that's something that eventually you will have to do. There's going to be a point in time to where your business is so huge that you have to be your own spokesperson.
Mhm.
So I mean that's a part of the growth as well. So it's something small that the average person would say, well, she's just not shy no more. But it's a big
No,
deal.
it's a struggle.
It's a big
So.
deal. I mean, and even though saying people don't believe me, but each and every time I turn this camera on, there is an element of, I won't say uncertainty, but I never really get comfortable with doing it.
Mhm.
But I've always been told that you can't grow in comfort.
Right.
This is something I've always wanted to do. I want to try to get out there and enhance our conversations and highlight people that I think are absolutely dope. So the only way that I can do it is just to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I am with two of my. I've been saying I'm gonna start my YouTube channel and all this other stuff. I have a ring light. I've been gifted a very expensive vlogging camera. The only thing I've done with the vlogging camera is take pictures. So
So let me get this
funny.
straight.
Like,
You have the most expensive thing, but won't buy something that you can go to. Where was I? Where was I? And I saw. I was in. I was in Marshalls the other day,
mhm,
and they had ring lights and tripods galore in Marshalls for like $10.
mhm.
So you have the expensive piece of equipment, but I'm not gonna start because I don't
But
have a ring light.
and it's so funny stories like I said I've been still waiting to procrastinating really making excuses really to create that content, but also I'm so deep with cutting potatoes, baking potatoes, that it's hard for me for to step away because I have to be that person right now. But I've been granted an opportunity that I just started. I've been working with JS Clark creating cooking demonstrations for them. So that's God putting me back in rhythm. Like, okay, it is doable. This is your starting path. So make sure you just keep doing it. So He always puts me back on track to the things that I want to do but don't have time to do. So.
And he's forcing you outside of your comfort zone.
I feel
Oh,
like he
dude.
just kicks me off the ledge every time I say, "Oh, I'm not busy." He's like, "I'm gonna show you. You
I'm
gonna
gonna
get to
send you.
work."
I'm gonna send you a clip. I'm gonna send you a clip. Have you ever watched the Indiana Jones movie?
Mm-mm.
There is a scene in the Indiana Jones movie where the guy is like on a cliff,
Mhm.
and the bad guy has his dad with a knife at his neck, and he's like, "Look, you don't step off this cliff, I'm gonna cut your dad neck." And the guy's like, "But if I walk, I'm gonna die." He's like, "No, but if you don't walk, your dad's gonna die."
Mhm.
And he finally takes that step off the ledge, only to find out that there was a path there all along. He just couldn't see it because it was dark. And when
Mhm.
I saw that, I instantly thought about the entrepreneurial journey. We're so afraid to take that first step, but if we take that first step, then there's always going to be a little bit of land in front of us if we keep on moving. It won't always be smooth sailing, but if it's
No,
smooth
it's
sailing,
definitely a,
yeah,
a bumpy ride, but
yeah, it's peaks and valleys. But I mean, if it's smooth sailing the whole way, you're not growing.
right, you're not gonna learn anything. You're not gonna
Yeah,
grow.
yeah. If it's peaks and valleys, you're definitely growing. So, um, final question: what are your future plans? What are you thinking about doing as far as expanding? Because I mean, I'm looking at the glow in your eyes right now. I'm looking at the smile on your face. You absolutely love your business. You're passionate about what you do. So I know for a fact that there's
Mhm.
no way possible that you're okay with being where you are right now, 5, 10 years from now. So what's the plan?
So the ultimate goal for Eat Fuel Flourish is to be a distribution company. So having, not right now it's small because I'm doing like customer to customer, but having it grow to a place to where customers can pick up from certain locations, grocery stores, that thing. So that's the vision for Eat Fuel Flourish. I'm going to try. Well, I will start working on my cookbook. So um, when I picked up the Best of Acadiana 2021 from Barnes and Noble. I said, next time I pick up something from Barnes and Noble with my name on it, it's going to be my cookbook. So, I'm speaking that into existence. We're going to be working on that. Um, and then another aspect of Eat Fuel Flourish is having people that can come see me. I don't have a storefront right now, but it won't be a storefront, but I have things in the work to be, more available during the week. So more information on that is coming. But, you know, business picking up, I have the vision, but most importantly right now, I'm making sure that I lay the proper foundation to when I get employees, they actually have structure.
Yeah,
So
and that's very important. I mean, there is a such thing as growing too fast. You can, yeah, you can grow too fast, and congratulations on that. The fact that you grew fast and you endured, because I've actually seen a lot of businesses that grew too fast, and it was actually their demise.
mm-hmm.
They couldn't keep up with it. The customer service piece was horrible. The service and the quality of
Mm-hmm.
the product began to diminish, and eventually began to be the downfall of them. So I mean, the fact that you grew
Mm-hmm.
fast and that you actually endured, that says a lot about you as a business owner as well.
Yeah, I think another, I'll say one kind about, but within the entrepreneurship world, that people either they don't know their market or they try to tailor their market to somebody else's business idea. So you have to know your why,
Hmm.
and create your brand around that, and don't waver from it, even if people aren't buying it. Maybe you're not marketing right, or maybe you're not in the right market. But one thing I can say about me is, I've had a lot of customers and some didn't return, but the core of my customers, they understand, my passion, they understand my food. So anytime I say, hey, I may be late or this came up, like they completely understand. And even on those days where I just can't get out the bed or I just don't feel like cooking, one of them will send me in this, a text, hey, when can I order? Your food helps us so much. Or even like they'll just send me text, just to chat, like, hey, I'm going through this, just to vent. But I just love the family that I have in my business. And that's simply because I understood my brand and I understood my market. I don't want every single customer, because every single customer is not my market. They don't understand my mission. So like I said, I'm just grateful that I understand that, and I have the customers that I do have.
Well, I mean, and that's smart. That's next level. That's next level entrepreneurship, because a lot of people think that every customer needs to be theirs. And I was that person for a long period of time. Like you need to have a target market. And the cool part about what I learned about having a target market is, let's just say if you decided that, look, and I'm talking hyperbole here, so don't pay me any mind. But
Mm-hmm.
let's just say that, look, I only want to cook for high school students.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only people I'm cooking for is high school students.
Mm-hmm.
What ends up happening is that the college students are like, so I wonder what makes her so special. She can only cook for high school people. I want to see what it is too.
Mm-hmm.
So you expanded. Now I'm cooking for high school people. I'm cooking for college students.
Mm-hmm.
College students may bring it home, during spring break or during fall break or whatever. And now the parents are like, well, I wonder why she won't cook for everybody. So when you start to focus on a target market, other people get curious by nature and they want to be included. So even if you start with a target market, eventually your business is going to grow, because good news travels fast
Mm-hmm.
and everybody wants to be a part of the growing trend. And
Right.
it's funny that it works out that way, but I mean, you're really a lot further along than you think you are psychologically. You
Mm-hmm.
think about this thing very deep, and a lot of people never get to this point. So you're doing it, man. You're
Thank
doing
you.
it. So look, I'm not gonna hold it. We've talked for almost an hour right now, ladies and gentlemen. Look, hit my girl up, man. Eat, you, flourish. I love how you spell flourish. That's so Louisiana.
Right.
337-366-1161. You see her email address on the screen. Right now, you're doing Lafayette and the surrounding areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how far out of the Lafayette market do you go?
So one of my first customers was in New Orleans. So I was traveling to New Orleans every single weekend. So honestly, wherever you are, if you don't mind paying a delivery fee, I'll drop your food off. Honestly.
I mean, this may be a crazy question. Is there a way? Is there a way to ship food like that when you do it?
Yes, it is. I just haven't gotten to that logistical part yet. But it's in the next phase. So I have my website, www.efieldfirst.com, but I just have to do a few more things on it. But that's also like a next phase. So being able to actually ship. And so I'm in search of a commercial kitchen. So once I get the commercial kitchen, get the employees, when they have foundation, they're trained. We can get to that next step of shipping. People have been asking for shipping since day one.
Of course.
So it just trying to get the logistics down, and hands, like, because I can't do it, and I could in essence, but it wouldn't be the quality or standard that I would want it to be, working simply by myself. So I'll wait to make sure it's right to start offering it. But yes, shipping will be available eventually.
Nice. Well, look, I'm not going to hold you. I can talk about this stuff all night because I'm absolutely passionate about it. So, look, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and rock with me tonight, man. You're definitely a part of my network now. When I come to Lafayette, we definitely need to link up and have have a meal and and see if we can, maybe we can share some resources. I have some things that I can possibly share with you, from the
Mm-hmm.
office part with the financial statements and stuff like that that may be of an asset to you. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in closing, is there anything that you want to talk to the audience about or share with them or leave with them before we shut it down?
The biggest resource that I can share with anybody, with I had my professor, Dr. Jeffrey Stewart at UL. He's the head of the department, but also he's over the Lead Center in Lafayette, which they're partnered with the Small Business Center. So no matter where you are, they offer services that are free. So they're there to help you to get it right or to help you fix it, and it's free. Their services are free. So if anything else, if you want to start a business, you have a business and you just want more information, I highly encourage you to go to the Small Business Center website, just to book an appointment.
Nice, nice. All right, guys, that is it for this episode. Great conversation. Looking forward to seeing this young lady go to the moon with her business. Um, we actually have a couple more of these type of conversations lined up. I definitely want to just have conversations with real people, having real conversations about stuff like that. We talk about the salacious stuff too. I know y'all like the salacious stuff, so that's not going anywhere. But I also want to talk about some things with some substance and actually highlight people. I
Mm-hmm.
made a post on Facebook the other day that the biggest lie on Facebook is that we never hear anything good. We hear things good all the time, but unfortunately, small-minded people think when somebody says something good that they're bragging. We're simply giving God glory. Everybody's not bragging. Everybody's not hating on you. So there are good news happening every single day, and we're going to highlight people who are doing positive things and shooting up to the moon on my platform. So appreciate you all for joining. Go ahead, go to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you can see everything that we pump out. Go ahead and like the page, like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you watch it on Facebook, which I see there are quite a few of you watching on Facebook right now, go ahead to YouTube, subscribe to the channel so that you can get involved in the conversation. Appreciate you all for jumping on. I will see you guys next time. Peace.